Sorry to interrupt this beautiful intro music, but I just wanted to say I'm sorry. We're sorry. I think Andrew's sorry. I haven't checked with him, but, he's probably sorry. Actually, probably not. But we haven't uploaded in a month and a half. We know you've noticed. The mob has come after us. No, actually, nobody has mentioned it, which concerns me. Yeah. But I feel still that I should note it here that we're sorry. And, life has just been crazy for both of us, which is why it's been impossible to get together. You'll learn more about that in 2 episodes from now. So, you're just going to have to stay tuned. And anyways, this is a really good episode. It's lots of fun. So stick around and have fun. Sorry I missed your text too. I looked at it because I thought, hey, I haven't heard from Andrew yet. And it turns out, oh yeah, I guess I did an hour ago. Whoops.
But I'm just here. I'm chilling. It's getting Chipotle.
Okay,
no
good.
Deal.
Is Chipotle your podcast night choice? Because it seems to be a lot of the times that you have Chipotle. When we're podcasting.
I have tacos too.
Pacos?
Tacos.
Oh, I thought you said Pacos. I thought that was a restaurant I had never heard of.
They're like, oh, I love Pacos.
Could be.
I'd be like, yeah, sure.
Yeah, sure. That's good. Okay.
Me too, obviously. Yeah, Pacos is actually really good. They got good rice there at Pacos.
Okay. What kind of, how can rice be good? I don't, better than any other rice? Is it white rice? Is it coconut rice? Is it brown rice? Is it wild grain rice? There's so many options.
It's like a coconut white wild grain rice.
Oh, I can see why it's the best then. That makes sense.
It's the best of every world.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, imagine fried rice, but if it were made by a totally different culture with other flavors.
Yep. Mm-hmm. I can see it.
You can?
Uh-huh. Yeah, sounds good. Just add a little mango chunks in there. It would be perfect.
Ooh, now you're talking.
Yeah.
Dude, let's go to Pacos after this.
Oh yeah, I'm craving Pacos. We have to.
Yeah, have to. I heard they're closed for COVID though.
Oh darn.
Yeah.
We'll have to miss out then. So I found these it's like Indian dishes, but they're in packets that you just stick in the microwave and warm them up. It has different curries, different vegetables, plus some kind of sauce, and they're good. They're mostly vegetarian. I think they're all vegetarian actually. They just have spices and nothing too crazy. No crazy ingredients. But anyways, you put that in the microwave, you warm it up, and then you pour it over your choice of rice. So I've been using those over just different kinds of rice. And I've learned that there are so many different types of rice out there, which is kind of a new discovery. I didn't know there was coconut rice until recently. And it was cool because I found it was a coconut curry dish. And then I put it over coconut rice. And it just paired pretty well, obviously.
No. Say it isn't true.
Oh my gosh, Pacos is closing after 35 years.
They will be missed. Funny enough, they sell tacos.
Yeah, well, it makes sense. Wow. So there is actually a Pacos. We learned too late.
One of Central Florida's older restaurants. Too bad. Poor Pacos.
Yeah. West Fairbanks.
Lisa.
I probably know where that is too. What? What's up?
I've got a tale for you.
A tale?
Yeah, I've got a tale. It's not as old as time, though.
Oh,
but it's a tale.
Okay. I thought you meant an actual tale. I'm I don't need a tale.
No,
but
yeah. It's about a brother and sister who started a podcast.
Yeah.
And it's called the No Kidding Podcast.
What?
And their names are Andrew and Lisa.
They sound amazing.
Sound like a good pair, huh?
I want to be their best friend. Yeah, they do, actually.
Can you believe they've already made 34 episodes?
Is that technically true yet at this 7-minute mark?
Yeah, that's true. This could go... something could happen. You never know. Flooding.
Anything. Oh, speaking...
Man,
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
No, you go.
No, you.
You're probably more on point.
So I was watching this video of people in a like gaming cafe, and it was like flooded up to their waist, and they were on like full gaming rigs that were just up on top of the table.
What the
and
heck?
They were just like, yeah, it was just like, it wasn't like a pool or anything. It was just like a flooded basement, and they were just like sitting in the water,
and they were just too involved in their games to move or change. I
don't know. I guess it flooded the day before or something, and they're like, it's fine. They're all the PCs are on top of the tables. It's okay.
That's kind of like exactly what I would expect a basement video gamer to react. How they should react to a flood in their basement. I mean, they would just wouldn't. Yeah, I mean that.
They would just put on some floaties.
Solidifies the stereotype in my mind. So perfect. Yeah, I was gonna say that I've been watching just videos of tsunamis, which isn't quite as funny.
Fun.
But they are insane.
Yeah, it is pretty wild.
Actually, going back to your video game thing, that could actually be a good way to keep your blood flowing and exercise while you video game. Is like have half of your body submerged in water, and you just have to like keep yourself afloat in order to game.
Well, they were on chairs, but
well, I
like the idea that they're like treading water, like trying to reach their keyboard.
Instead of those standing treadmills, it's like a sitting pool. I don't know. I like it.
All right, let's be honest. Your toes get cut up so much at the bottom.
They do.
Like, pools. They need to fix that. They need to make them less sandpapery.
Why does that happen? You know,
I always have raw toes after going in the pool.
True. Me too. And it's weird because I have it's actually my left toe, big toe. I never notice it until after I've like gone swimming for a while. But it's like I have this slit, like a cut in the bottom of my toe that just like opens up every time I swim. But if I'm not swimming, I never notice it. But it's in the exact same spot and it's the exact same size. It's really weird. But if I'm not swimming, it's totally fine. Oh, yeah.
Maybe you have like a Achilles heel type weak point that the pool knows how to get at.
I thought you were going to say I have like fish, like the fish, what are they called?
Gills?
Gills, yeah. I have like a gill.
A toe gill?
A toe gill.
You think people would come to my pool if I market it as a soft pool without toe gills?
No, I don't. I don't think anybody would go.
I think people would know what that means.
I don't know, but it sounds creepy. Are you telling me you're
like
getting a pool?
The idea of somebody walking in one day and going, thank you. Thanks for finally making a pool for people like us.
Yeah. We're very unrepresented in the pool community. That's funny.
No, I don't have a pool.
Oh, bummer.
I wouldn't want one. I mean, I feel like there's too much upkeep with a pool. Like, you gotta buy the chlorine. Yeah. You gotta maintain the pumps. You gotta get something in there that either automatically cleans the pool, or you gotta clean it yourself, or you gotta have like a covered pool thing. But even still, it's a whole thing. It
is the word on the street that it is not worth the hassle. However, I mean, it's pretty nice to just walk outside and have a pool. I wouldn't know because I have to walk. You know, I have to walk far for the pool, which isn't a real pool. My pool, it's not anybody's pool. It's a community pool. So, you know, you always have those awkward moments. Like you walk into the pool of a community pool, you know, you go in and you're like crossing your fingers. Nobody's there. Nobody's going to be there. But then you walk in and somebody's there. And not only are they there, but they're in your spot. Oh, you know what I mean?
They can't be in your spot.
There's this primo spot and you're like, oh, now what do I do? Because there's like, at this particular pool, the sun really only shines on one side. So it really cuts things in half. Like you're either going to be in the sun on one side or you're going to be in the shade on the other side. And if you want sun, which sometimes you want to get a little extra vitamin D, you know, you want to be on the sunny side. But if you are like, I don't want sun today, I want to be on the shade. But then if anybody is on either one of those sides, you have to think, well, okay, so what's the etiquette here? Because I don't want to be a side parker. You know, those got people that park next to you when there's like,
to be a side parker.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. Like there's so many spots in the parking lot, but for some reason, a person decides to park right next to you.
Also an adjacent urinal.
Oh, I wouldn't know much about that, but that sounds awful.
That's a really hard word to say.
But I do know like the next to the stall. So like there's like 5 stalls and then the person comes into the stall next to you. There's like an etiquette. You know what I mean? Like some people don't follow this rule of personal space and boundaries, but most people know the rules. So then I think,
that's just like sometimes you need some, you need some camaraderie in the bathroom. You need a little emotional support. Like sometimes I can tell somebody's having a hard time, so I'll pick the stall next to them. I'll just slip off my shoe and I'll just put my foot on their foot.
Ew.
We'll just hold feet.
No. That's that is so creepy. Ew. I could just imagine like toes crunching and like interlacing together.
Yeah, especially if they have sandals on. No, you slip a little Post-it note under that has a smiley face on it.
Oh my gosh. Ew. Oh no, thank you. Yeah. Anyway.
Says the person with a toe gill. That's why you want a pool. You got toe gills.
Yeah, I don't know. I just like swimming. I mean, I don't know. There's also that certain temperature in the pool where there's only certain parts of the year that you can actually really enjoy the pool. Other times of the year, unless you have a heated pool or a way to heat the pool, even in Florida, it can get cold. Like the water can get too cold to swim. You can put your legs in and your feet pretty much all year, but there is.
But how do you feel about rivers? And we go to Tennessee sometimes. Yeah, the rivers up there, those are cold like our winters all the time.
Those are freezing cold, but it's okay because
I guess it's nice that you can get out.
Yeah, it's kind of part of the experience, and it is kind of nice that it's so hot usually. Like a lot of times it's hot, and so submerging yourself into that icy cold feels good, but not that initial shock ever. That's never good. That's torture. But once you're in, it's kind of nice.
Once you're in your zen, as they say.
Once you're in your zen, yeah, exactly. But I'm trying to think I guess I did the last time I went. I did submerge my entire body. I think that the goal, everybody knows the only way to get past cold water is to just take the dive, just submerge immediately. Don't waddle your way in because you'll psych yourself out and it'll be worse. So yeah, you have to take the plunge, I guess.
With each step, ooh!
Yeah. Speaking of plunge, have you watched any of the Olympics? Because there's been some really cool...
Where do you watch the Olympics?
I haven't actually watched on a channel because we don't have a channel, but we do there are clips of it we have Peacock, but there are other, I think Hulu has some it organized per sport, and then they have highlights and clips and stuff, which is really all we would watch is Peacock would have full versions of events if you wanted to, but only certain events, because it's weird because some what are they called? What would Peacock be called? It's not a channel, but a subscription.
Bird.
I don't know.
Oh.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
Peacock is owned by
service.
NBC, I think. And so
a streaming service.
Yeah, a streaming service. So they different ones owned different rights to different sports. So right. Peacock would have...
it's all split up everywhere.
Yeah. And it was weird because I was like, why aren't we getting any of the swimming stuff? It's oh, well, NBC doesn't own the swimming part, or I don't know, something like that. And I was like, this is crazy. Why can't there just be one place you can go?
Why can't they just have, a Olympics website?
Right. Rather than having to own...
The Olympics doesn't actually film anything. It's always the different news stations actually do the filming. So I guess they would want their rights to the thing for you to come to their site.
Exactly.
But come on.
I know. I don't have a TV service to watch it on the actual channel or whatever. So anyway, but I did watch a bunch of highlights and clips and stuff, and it was crazy. Mostly I watched diving, swimming, gymnastics, track.
Ledecky.
Yeah, what the heck? He was good. He was really good. Or she was really good. Oh.
I was like, did I say somebody I didn't even know about?
No, sorry. I was thinking of somebody else. No, yeah. Oh, yeah. She was really good. But
Simone Biles.
I don't...
Not Serena Williams.
A little, what do I say about that? It's a complicated topic, so...
It was interesting. I remember when she dropped out, people were saying it's crazy because pretty widely regarded as the greatest of all time for what she does, mm-hmm. but still she's on the floor and the judges have to find something. You can't give them a 10 out of 10, right?
So
they always have to find something oh, she didn't quite do that, she didn't do that quite right.
Yeah.
So it's just like, no matter how good you are, there'll always be like.
Well, what's interesting is that like her sort of strategy was to have high difficulty, and she had the highest level of difficulty because she was creating moves that were higher than what, was previously done. And so what I learned from watching like documentaries and stuff is that the reason that they're knocking her score down is because a lot of times they will knock down certain skills because they're trying to basically discourage those skills because they're too difficult, and they think that like other gymnasts, next year or like the following Olympics, they're going to try to do these difficult skills.
I mean, it's true. That pushes the boundary.
Yes, which is what most people want. That's what they're trying to push for.
Isn't that kind of the whole idea behind the Olympics? It's athletes trying to do as best as they can and pushing each other each year to do better.
That's what's incredible. Yeah, that's what they used to do, but they've been, so that's one of the sort of controversies in the, at least gymnastics world, as far as like the difficulty, because they're trying to keep it competitive, but also safe, I guess. I don't know. So.
Yeah, I feel like for a long time you could see a great example of that in like the X Games. Like I remember back in the day, like skateboarding used to be like nothing like it is today. Like I remember there was like a huge boom, especially like Tony Hawk and those guys, that they would do so many crazy tricks and stuff that like nobody even ever thought was possible. And then like next year, everyone would be doing that trick. It'd be like crazy.
Right,
It'd just be like, oh, so that's how you do that.
Yeah.
And it was crazy. It was like unlocking next generations of talent.
Yes. And that is like the human experience, is trying to, evolve and learn from other people to do better. And I mean, that's the goal. But I guess the gymnasts, they really just try to meet a certain goal, like a certain number in order to win. So they're not really trying to do like the skills that are cool or difficult or whatever for the sake of winning. If they do those, like Simone, they're more doing it for a personal best sort of situation. So it's definitely, but of course the higher level of difficulty will get you the highest score, but it won't necessarily break any score. I don't know. There's certain rules and things, like
you get locked out.
You kind of do. I don't. It's interesting, but
it's messed up.
But yeah, it was an interesting Olympics with the gymnastics and Simone and everything. It was never before seen.
Did you see the American relay? I think it was the female one where they just like blew past. It was the USA, like blew past everybody. Like by the third baton, like everybody was like the USA person was just like in the lead to the point where you couldn't even see anybody else.
Really? I'm trying to think. I'm trying to remember that one. I do remember. Maybe I did. I can't remember exactly, but I do remember the one where I think it was what is it called when there's male and female? Was that one male and female? Like there's male runners and female runners?
Don't think so.
Oh, okay. Well, anyway, this one. So the girl didn't line up in the right spot. She was the only one that wasn't in the right spot, and nobody told her. And it was like the other guy was coming around, ready to like getting ready to hand it off, but she wasn't in her spot where she was supposed to be. She was farther up. And some people said like maybe they were trying to do a strategy, or maybe, she
little sneak.
I don't know, like, or maybe, well, no, like she wasn't necessarily trying to cheat, but she was just trying to like try something different in order to get ahead. Like there was no rule that you couldn't be where she was, but there was a rule that you had to.
They're like, how strange! She must be trying something brand new. We're seeing innovation. Everybody, look closely. And she's like, wait, what? Where am I?
Yeah, I know. But so there is, after you hand off the baton, there is a point where you have to have it in your hand before you cross that line. And because she was so far forward, she crossed that line like before she got her baton. Wow, so anyway, they ended up losing. But the guy who interviewed her, like took her down. I was like, you are being mean. I was like ready to fire this guy for the interviewer because he was making her feel so bad about it. And I was like, oh my gosh. And she was trying to be tough and stuff. But afterwards, after the interview, they had the camera on her and she was like crying. I was like, oh.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, like it was horrible.
It's like, hey, so, everybody's trained. They've worked really hard. Mm-hmm. Everyone here is a professional. So why are you here?
Yeah.
Oh,
I know. And then there was that other guy who, he quick started, like he jumped too soon when he was there. It was a race and he was on his block and then he went before the shot or whatever. What's that called when they do that? When they start too
pop
soon?
Skipping.
I know there's like a term for it when you just go too soon. And false start, that's it. And anyway, because of that he got disqualified and he couldn't race. So he went through all that just for that moment.
I feel like for that kind of stuff, I guess they would start pushing it closer and closer. But like, can't you just reset? Can't you be like, whoops, my bad, everybody?
Well,
and just kind of...
it's crazy because this happened back in 2016 where there was a swimmer who did that. He false started and he jumped into the pool before everybody else. And it was so sad. Like he had like everybody in the
you're falling to the water and you look to your left and to your right and see that nobody else is going on. He got back
up and his face was just mortified. And like everybody in the stands was watching him. That he was on TV. He just had, and everybody else was still standing on their like marks to go. And he had to climb out of the pool and he just was like crying. And he went over and grabbed his stuff off of his chair and like pulled. He was like, and he walked off all by himself while everybody's watching him. It was the saddest thing. But the light on this is that they actually did end up letting him race. They ended up voting that there was interference and that somebody in the audience made a sound.
Did a whistle sound?
Yeah, I don't know.
Whatever the sound is.
And so they ended up letting him try again. And I was wondering, like, what are the rules there? Like,
so shaken after that, though.
Oh my gosh, yeah, I can't imagine. He was like he was in tears. He was so upset. Like, but
yeah. I mean, you worked your whole life to get there. And then, whoops.
Can you imagine that? Oh my gosh! But then they did give him a second chance, which
nice.
Normally they don't do. Like they didn't do this year for that runner, but yeah. Anyway,
I mean, I guess there's got to be a consequence, or else people would just try and push it closer and closer. Like as soon as they think it's gonna go, they go, and then they know there's no consequence. They're like, oh,
yeah, exactly.
But did you see that person the rock climbing? Which I didn't know there was Olympic rock climbing.
No,
that actually sounds kind of cool.
I didn't see any rock climbing.
Yeah, there was this girl that was crazy. She scaled the wall like Spider-Man. Like she was like right up there. She slipped on like the last rock and like went all the way back down. And like she went through all the stages of grief like on her way down to the bottom. Like by the time she reached the bottom, she was just like bawling.
That is so sad. I hate those things. I wonder if there's like a compilation of all of the mistakes in the Olympics. I just can't imagine, like, because you spend so much time training and wishing and dreaming, and then you meet the trials, and then you make it, and you get all the way there, a whole other country, and then in 1 second, it's just like, I don't know. It's like, and it's not even like you lost. It's like you made an error that ruined it for you. I don't know. That would just be so hard. But I did see there's this new event. I'm trying to think what it was called. It's not crew, but it's like kayaking, but it's like one person, and it's not a traditional kayak where you sit in the kayak. It's like you kneel in the kayak and you only row on one side. And
extreme kayaking.
I don't know what it's called, but I'm trying to think. Let me look it up really quick because I want to get it right.
Olympic knee paddling.
Knee paddling. Maybe that's it. Maybe it's called the canoe sprint. Is that what it's called?
Canosis.
I think it's called
the kneeling canosis.
I think it is called the canoe sprint. No, it's not called the canoe sprint.
Didn't sound. What you described didn't really sound like a canoe. Like, did it come up on the sides? Like, this sounds weird.
No, I don't. What is this thing called? It's called High Kneel Sprint Canoe. It is Sprint Canoe. The High Kneel Sprint Canoe event, also known as C1. But anyway, so there was a U.S. competitor in the females, and she was I think she was 19, but she like blew everybody away, and she was even shocked because she didn't really think that she was that good. And she kind of like just did it on a whim. She was like, well, maybe I could try it or whatever. And so she went to and tried out for it, just did the trial. And she was like insanely good. So she ended up winning the gold. But it was like if you watch her, she's like a powerhouse.
That's like maximum badass points.
Yes.
Like she just gets to the end and she looks back. She's like, really?
Yeah.
You guys are the best? Oh man.
It's kind of demeaning to the rest of to everybody else. But I don't know. It's pretty cool. The Olympics, there's some pretty good stories and stuff. I don't follow like.
It looks like everybody's
sport.
about to jump. I googled the images of this. It looks like everybody's about to go sprinting out of the canoe. It looks like they're getting ready to when they line up at the sprint line and they all take a knee.
Yeah, they do look like that. Her name is Nevin Harrison. But she
Nevin.
was, yeah.
I haven't heard a lot of women.
I know. I thought that was a really cool name, Nevin. I've heard Devin, but not Nevin.
I've heard Evan.
Okay. It's close. You could just add a couple letters in there and make up your own name.
Yeah, like Chevin.
Yeah, Chevin could be a new name.
Kevin.
Dang, that's new.
Yeah, we should do Kevin.
Definitely Kevin.
Just, for like a new spin.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I have never heard a woman named Kevin, so let's go. Why not?
Maybe that's their way of calling her Kevin with putting like a female spin on it and calling it Nevin.
There you go.
Yeah, I could see it. Sure.
Mm-hmm. Did you ever watch Death Parade?
I don't think I did. I didn't watch much anime since last time we talked.
At least you remembered it was an anime.
I mean, I could just tell from the name. It's hard.
You're like, that sounds absurd.
That sounds like an anime.
I've been watching Jujutsu Kaisen.
But I really need to. What's that?
It's like sorcerers take on curses and excise them.
Oh,
it's kind of cool.
Okay.
It's sort of a mix between Bleach and Naruto, but
what's it called? Jujutsu. What?
Kaisen. Yeah, I think it's Kiscn.
Okay.
It's a good show.
Cool.
I stalled on it for a little while, but I'm back on the train.
Did you watch that one that I recommended to you? Let me see what
you can't even remember the name.
I know.
Come on.
I can't. I'll find it in a second.
I haven't been watching anything. I almost didn't watch Jujutsu Kaisen, but I did, so.
Okay. Well, anyways, I'm
gonna go ahead and say probably not, but I would like to know if you'd like to
know. Oh, okay. Yeah, I texted to you and now I cannot remember. But it was something that my patient recommended because he said it was funny.
Oh, so like Psyche K.
Yeah, I like that. Because you told me about that, and I told him about that. I was like, you should watch that. And he's like, okay, I will. But you guys should watch this, because it's good. Oh, it was called Eminence.
You told me to watch...
Eminence in the Shadow. It's not an anime. It's a manga.
Oh, see, I would have to read.
Yeah, but apparently they're turning
I'll look at the pictures.
They are turning it into an anime, but they haven't finished it yet. But it's
been a long time since I read a manga. I should do that.
Yeah, he says it's good. Eminence in the Shadow.
I like how you also recommended me All Gas, No Brakes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I know that's been out for a really long time, but
Channel 5.
Yeah, now Channel 5. And we were watching both of them, but for some reason I was like...
You watched the Q Conference one that just came out?
If it's new, probably not, because lately we've been watching something else. But what was that one about? Q Conference?
Just kind of like right-wing conspiracy people.
Oh.
But,
okay.
Yeah, it was just kind of funny how he embedded himself in the culture there.
Yeah.
Because it was like he shows up in like a Harley Davidson polo.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
trying to fit in.
It.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So what it is, I'm sure people know about it by now. I don't know. Like I didn't know about it until recently, like probably a couple months ago. So
that's a wild ride.
It's like what's funny, what really kind of interested me, because I like a lot of Louis Theroux documentaries, and I don't know if you know who he is, but I would recommend anybody who's never seen a Louis Theroux documentary, watch him. And what's funny is when we were watching this show, we were like, he has kind of a vibe like Louis Theroux. And then we watched an interview that he did with somebody for like a serious interview. And he's like, he named Louis Theroux as one of his inspirations. So I was like, oh, okay,
nice.
That makes sense. But he does like an interview kind of style YouTube videos where he goes around and he kind of just talks to people that are involved in crazy different things. And he tries to find like the most unique and interesting people. Yeah, that's the crazy part, is that he's like, he probably interviews tons of people, but he cuts out the normal ones and just keeps the crazy ones.
But I mean, the amount of craziness he catches on camera, I would describe it as like, he uses the power of the camera to draw craziness.
That's probably true.
Like, obviously he goes to the crazy, but like he's able to magnetize crazy people to pick up the mic and just start talking. Like, he does very little interviewing, at least maybe he cuts a lot out, but there's very little of him talking. It's just, he basically hands people mics, he points a camera at them and lets them go.
Yes.
And occasionally when they stall out, he throws a little gasoline on the fire and like
it's so interesting.
Brings them back in. It's really fun to watch.
It's fun to watch, but it's also kind of terrifying that there's so many strange.
Honestly, I fear for his safety a lot.
Sometimes,
I'm like, this guy, I would not be surprised if, like I saw in the news, this guy, Andrew Callahan, he died by some kind of gang violence or something while he was trying to like shoot some absurd documentary.
Right,
like,
I know. That is something that he doesn't, well, I don't know about now, but he wasn't really showing a lot. Like, so what Louis Theroux, one of his strengths is he's very disarming, and he comes off very innocent, and he comes off very like, very welcoming and accepting of everybody. He's just basically somebody that's going to try to learn more about them in a very innocent way. And so that was kind of like his protection in a way, because people didn't really feel like threatened by him, so they didn't feel the need to like hurt him or get him involved in things, or like, you know what I mean? So I feel kind of like he has that. Yeah,
he does. I think he has this air about him, like he's like a weirdo nerd that's just like super antisocial and like strange, but he has this camera and mic, and so people just like, he walks up and he's just kind of like, he always wears like the dorkiest clothes and stuff, and he just like has this like kind of like perm looking hair, and he just like walks up and he's like, why are you here? And he just like hands him the mic and lets him go. Like, I think most of it is just like his intuition, like who's gonna be a maniac.
I think that's what makes him good, is like he does have that intuition. And he knows the questions to ask to prompt like weird answers and things. And he's one thing he also does, that Louis does, is that he acts dumb. Like, he acts like he doesn't know what he's asking.
Yeah, he's always like, oh, what, really? Oh, okay.
But he
like,
does
that's
know.
Just a lot of his responses. When somebody's being like bringing up like their conspiracy theory that like aliens took him and he's not really back, and people are really just seeing the apparition of him, and he'll just be there like, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. And he'll be like, so can I touch you? Is that possible? And he's like, try it. And he touches him and he's like, okay. And just like, well, what is this conversation?
Okay.
Like, if any normal person was here, they'd just be like, you're insane. Yeah. And I'm leaving now.
That is so funny. And like, somebody who was interviewing was talking about sex, and I was obviously insinuating sex, and the guy was just was like, you know what I mean? And he was like, no, I don't know what you mean. Can you explain? And he's like, obviously he knows what he means, but he wants him to keep going.
Yeah, and the guy's like, was not expecting to have to explain anything.
It gets really awkward. Like, it's funny, and it's also it's like you learn something, you're entertained, and it's usually funny, but you're also shocked and like how are there actual people like this out there? I don't know. It's very interesting.
That's also like, how does he find these events that's like packed to the brim with psychopaths?
I'm sure he researches and he goes, I don't know, but
like, one of them was so like, I don't know, like just Spring Break Miami, where it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, it's probably kind of nuts, but like, I don't know, he's able to just find like wacky people. It's he's kind of like, I wonder where he gets his sources.
That's true. I always think that about Louis Theroux too. Like, we've talked about that before. Mike and I have, and like, we're like, how does he find these people? Where does he get his information to find these people? Like, no, I don't know. It'd be very difficult. So yeah, they probably go on Reddit Reddit or deep Twitter, or who knows, but
yeah. It's I also wonder who's funding it, because I know the reason, well, I don't know for sure, but I've heard that the reason that he
went to Channel
had
5,
to switch, turned to like Channel 5 instead of All Gas No Brakes, was that he basically like sold the rights to the All Gas No Brakes channel, and like so that was like to get funding, and it just kind of ended up having creative differences, and the licensing became an issue and everything.
Oh.
So it's interesting because like, well, how does he, because like for the one he did recently, the Q conference, I kind of got the feeling that he had to pay to get in there. Like, he had to like it was like $3,000 at least just to like get a ticket to that thing.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure he gets money from YouTube, itself.
Yeah, but then he also had to like fly to Las Vegas.
Maybe he has a
like
Patreon or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess.
But I thought that I read somewhere that the Channel 5 network he's being funded by an actual network. But I don't know if that's true or not.
I mean, in the Q conference video, like he goes, there's a thing where he goes to interview somebody and he's like, that's not quite as insane as his other guests. And he's like, hi, Andrew Callahan, Channel 5. And he starts going into his thing and the guy stops him and goes, wait, Channel 5 from where? Like, are you like a local station? Like, what are you? And he's like, oh no, I run a YouTube channel. It's just called Channel 5. It's not affiliated with any kind of network.
But that's a good
he's like,
name.
Yeah. And the guy's like, he just kind of chuckles like, okay.
Yeah, that is funny. I wonder, like, there's not much information on his page or anything, but it does say not fake news, which I guess technically it's not.
It's honestly probably some of the most real human interactions you've ever seen on the internet.
There is a guy on YouTube that also does interviews, and he does the same thing where he wears like a really big oversized suit. I'm trying to think like what his name is. But he usually interviews like, and he does the same thing where he's like, he just basically makes people look kind of stupid. But what is his name? Let me see if I can find him. I think I might have mentioned it before, where he interviewed like college guys that were in a fraternity, and their whole thing was about getting big and ripped and like muscular. And he was like, so, like, what if you're not like that? And they were like, then you're a loser or whatever. And he basically like, what's his name? I'm trying to think. I think he was on Barstool Sports as one of their people. Maybe that's coming to me. Interviewer.
David Bryan.
Is that his name? David Bryan?
I don't know. I just searched oversized suit interview. That's the first guy that came up.
Yeah, probably. Let me check. David Bryan.
It looks like a old video from 2007, and he's like 40 in this video.
Oh, what?
So, and it also looks like it's from the 70s or something. I doubt this is it.
I will find it. Okay, so...
We do our research here on the No Kidding podcast.
I think it's Sam Fusel.
Except for all the times we don't.
Is it Sam Fusel? Yeah, I'm trying, guys. Trying to be like not fake news and check my sources. Watch on YouTube. Okay, so his name, Caleb Priestley. That's his name. Oh, and it was at Florida State University. He says, this is the one that I looked up. It was that one. So it was Caleb Priestley goes on to Florida State University to expose the fraternity that is too jacked and what they do on a daily basis to stay jacked. This is the strongest frat in America.
Apparently he's also a quarterback?
He used to be, yeah. He was. But then
So he's got some legitimacy behind him for these frat guys.
Yeah, I guess. But he doesn't take it seriously. He's very sarcastic and he acts like the interview is serious, but it's not. It's like very subtly sarcastic, and he's also a good person to watch because it's his interviews are pretty funny.
Fascinating.
Yeah, he's kind of along those similar lines. But
the science behind a frat party.
Yeah.
I love, there was a series that, what was it called? We're just going to be Googling things.
I know.
I think I can find this one pretty quick. There's just so many examples of the thing that I'm Googling for.
Yes, when it's not that narrow of a topic. That is not the thing.
It's not the thing I want.
Well.
All right. Well, it's lost.
Aw, man.
It's lost the time.
Okay, well.
Anyways, this guy Bernie used to do these videos that were really funny because they were just like tongue-in-cheek kind of like joke interviews where they kind of like quiz people on stuff that they don't know anything about. And so they'll just like quiz somebody that's never seen or like heard of Lord of the Rings and just kind of like ask them about different characters and stuff and like just kind of like lead them through an interview of just, okay, and so what do they want to do with this ring? And they're like, they just want to, it's a ring of friendship, right? That was it. It was it's like Lord of the Friendship Ring or something. And so they're all friends and they all share the ring. and they wear it, and like it just like he'll try and like lead them into like these more and more complex stories, and it's just kind of funny.
Yeah,
to
I can see that.
Hear him lead down the way, and it's like it's just great the way he does it, because he, in a similar interviewing style, just like totally deadpan, like absolutely serious, like taking him like totally seriously, like okay, yeah, that's totally logical where you're going with that, until they're just saying like the most absurd things. But,
and everybody watching like is in on it, so they're like, oh my gosh.
It's always fun to watch a good interviewer, like we talked before about the like At First We Feast, the Hot Ones guy, Sean. Yeah, he's really good. Yeah,
some of those people are like, please stop talking to me right now.
Yeah, they're like, I'm just about done with this interview. He's like, nah, we're just
and he just keeps going. He doesn't stop. Like there was somebody who
always has the most interesting questions. Like, who thought of this? Right,
that's true. That is true.
Yeah, like sometimes he'll take them, like big celebrities that get asked questions all the time will like be taken aback by like, what? How do you even know that? Like, you did a college film with your best friend Joe, and you said the line this and this. Like, what was the inspiration behind that? And he was like, what?
That's so funny, yeah. I wonder where he gets his sources from.
Yeah, for real.
Interesting. But another thing that I've been watching here and there, which I told you about already, but it's called Curb Your Blank. So what you do is you search YouTube for Curb Your whatever, and then it comes up with a ton of videos of like
Curb Your Enthusiasm memes.
Yes, Curb Your Enthusiasm memes, and it's of real people doing like dumb stuff, and it's just really funny because they'll say one thing and then later on they contradict themselves or something like that, or they'll, I don't know, mess up somehow. It'll be a fail of some kind. And anyway, it's really funny. So if you need a little laugh, and they're really short videos. And then it has like the Curb Your Enthusiasm tune afterwards once it, during the fail. It's, yeah, it's great. So
I love those. I love it when they're unexpected. Like people post them to Reddit all the time, and it'll just be some scenario, and then like somebody will just get themselves into a really awkward like social interaction, like you'd see on Curb Your Enthusiasm, and then the music just cuts in. And you're like, ah.
That's why it's so perfect, because it's exactly like what would be on that show. So they're just real life situations, which is pretty funny.
I like that somebody obviously just, whoever started that meme just thought one too many times, like, I'm in an episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Yeah, right. It's true. But other than that, we've been watching this channel called Dust. You've probably heard of it before, but
Dust,
maybe not. But it is pretty cool. It's basically science fiction shorts. And science fiction, fantasy. Some of them are science fiction, some are fantasy, but they're actually really well done, like well produced for the most part. Little, basically mini movies that are around like 15 minutes long, and at the most, like some are shorter, some are long. I don't think much are longer than that, and there's just a ton of them, and it's basically like what I would consider a concept piece. So it's almost like somebody created a movie and said like, this is the concept of the movie that I want to do, but it's not the full movie. It's only like a 15-minute movie. It's kind of like
it's like a proof of concept, like example.
It's like if you took any movie and then like cut it down to 15 minutes, and you're like, that's really all you need about the movie, and everything else in between is fluff. But these are the important parts. So
Cliff Note.
Yeah,
movies.
But there are some really.
It's like, that's ones. A really good idea, but we're not going to invest a whole 2 hours.
Yeah, exactly. But it's funny because there was a couple of them that we watched that have actors in it that are very well known. So I was like, I thought this was just like, like a YouTube thing where it was like somebody has this channel and like just posts videos that people did on their channel. But I think they're actually like, some of them at least are actually produced like movies and shorts with actual actors that are well known. So it was really, some of them were pretty good. And they could be kind of like Twilight Zone-y, some of them have twists at the end. Some are like Black Mirror type shorts, and like, okay. I don't know, and some are space, like they're, like take place in space, and some are, you kind of have to, it's funny because like we're watching them and we're trying to figure out like what's going on. And then
quick fire concepts.
Yeah, it's very short and to the point, and which is nice because like if you just kind of want to watch something while you're eating, or I don't know, just like something to waste 15 minutes, they're pretty cool. But you don't have like 2 hours to watch a movie, you know? It's like it's kind of nice to just have something quick. So yeah, I recommend that. I think that's pretty much all we've been watching lately. I'm trying to think. There's been anything
Oh my God,
else.
I found it. This is why it was so hard because they never really gave it a proper name. They just called it like verses, and then it was like they just picked two things, and they would have like this versus that.
Okay.
Yeah, so they never really had like a really good name for it, but there was a few of them in the series. Like
so
this one's geek versus sports. So they have like kind of a geeky guy come in and try and explain like what's going on in sports, or like what thing like sports terms are and stuff.
Right.
When he obviously doesn't know anything about.
So does the guy have to sort of like pretend like he knows what he's talking about, or does he ever say like I have no idea?
I mean, they know from the get-go. He's like, so you're not that well versed, but like, just try and do your best. And he just kind of like starts throwing stuff at him, and the guy just kind of has to be like, "Yep." And then like, if he ever gives like too vague an answer or something, I'll be like, "Expand on it."
Okay, yeah. Oh, that's funny. This one actually,
and it's just like very deadpan. He never says like that's wrong or no, it's not like you think it's like that. It's just like it's super straightforward. Like yeah. Exactly.
He's like, okay.
He's like, so what's a touchdown? And it's just like, I think it's like if. Like the guy, if somebody tackles you and then you touch like the ground, so he's like, oh, so like touchdown, touch ground. He's like, yeah.
So they do know like the topic, right? They do know this is a sports. So like if you said touchdown, they wouldn't say, oh, it's when the shuttle comes down and like. Okay.
They know generally what the questions are going to be centered.
Okay. So the one you sent me was actually America versus England.
Yeah, so they have an English guy, and he's asking him questions about America.
Oh, okay.
So he's saying things like, "Where is Maryland?" or something like that, like if like on this map.
Yeah, that's funny.
Just something that, like, if you didn't grow up in America, it seems like really obvious to people that are immersed in sports in that case, or like America in this case. But like an outsider would be like, I don't know.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, I'm glad you found that because I would definitely like this. It's
funny. So there's the ones I know about. There's America versus England. There's geeks versus sports. There's guy movies versus girl. There's I don't know. I think that's all of them. Cool. It was like a really short series, but they were well received. I thought they were really well done.
Nice. Yeah. So that's all the fun stuff.
You know what I've been watching a lot of?
What?
I've been really enjoying like live. How would I say this? Like improv narrative stuff, I guess. Like I've been watching a lot of Dimension 20, which is like it's a D&D show, which are becoming more and more popular lately. It's like people play Dungeons and Dragons, and you just watch it because it basically, it turns into like a radio play because it's all improv. Like, nobody knows what's going to happen except for like the Dungeon Master. And it's just kind of fun to watch because like you can get them in all kinds of topics. Like the one I'm watching currently is like, it's set in basically like a 1980s like suburbia.
Okay.
Kind of. So yeah, it's just kind of fun to.
So is it just like improv, or is it improv like gaming?
Yeah, it's the game Dungeons and Dragons. Right. But there's just a heavy improv element in that game. So like you have to, everything's made up. Like you have to just like nothing, like there are like light rules and stuff. Like there's definitely like rules to the game and stuff, but it's almost all imagination based. So you just say like what you're gonna do and stuff, and then there's just kind of like a referee type of guy there that says whether it's like too crazy or something, because otherwise you could just be like, I kill all my enemies and they're dead now. Yeah, it's like, no, there's some rules you gotta like
play along, make it last.
Yeah.
So
but then the whole idea is to get you into a state of like being able to just kind of improv and like role play your character.
Got it. So is this actually in the game, or are you watching clips of people doing this? Are you in the game?
So it's like a full playthrough. So it's like a show. It's like they do episodes that are like 2 hours.
Right.
And it's a sort of like podcast, sort of like radio drama, sort of like this thing where there's like a loose story line put together by the Dungeon Master, and then the people just kind of like follow along as the characters that they decide to play. Like
Okay.
So they each kind of come up with like a backstory and like what type of person that they're going to be and like what kind of abilities and things that they're going to have. And, you know, just kind of play like, in this case, it's almost like superheroes because they're like in the 80s, not like, but it's still kind of like magic based and stuff. So it's interesting.
And is this video or audio?
It's interesting. They label it, and I think I get it. They label it as like audio friendly, so you can just like listen to the audio by itself. But I like to watch the video with it. I think there's a nice component to seeing like people's reactions and stuff. And they do make like some set pieces. They're like pretty basic and stuff. Just well, I mean, they do them pretty well, but I mean, just as for how much they impact the narration of the game, like they help visualize like where they are and stuff. But like little props like, oh, you're in this house, and they have like a little like model house or something to put on the
okay. So I thought it was like they were role playing their character in the game, but they're actually creating the world with props.
Yeah, so they have like I said, the dungeon master kind of lightly like generally sets like the timeline and like things that will happen along like a sort of like loose script.
Yeah.
But you can affect it. Like you can, as a like group or you as an individual, because generally it's like a cooperative game. So the players can decide as a group to like go somewhere else, like in the game world, like do different things. And the game master kind of has to like flow with that. And like he'll try and kind of like suggest and corral them in like directions that he like has planned for and thinks are interesting. But it's amazing the amount of times that they get into situations that nobody could have like thought about, and he just has to like come up with something on the spot. And that's one of the things that's so enjoyable about this series in particular. It's Brennan Lee Mulligan is the dungeon master, and he's so good at improv and just being able to like quickly come up with just like a brand new concept of like whatever. Just like one of the recent things is one of the players is one of her big backstories is that she's super religious, and so she has this ability to like summon angels to help her. But then she goes through like a religious crisis moment because she like meets her god and doesn't like him.
Oh no.
And so she's like, she still has this ability, but she's like, I don't like, I'm summoning things, but like, should they be angels? Like, and he's like, because she has all this, she's going through all this stuff where she like goes to the library and like gets a book on like world religions, and she's like exploring like the different options she has open to her and stuff like that, and like philosophies behind different ways of like being and humanity and everything. And so she's like, she's like, I don't know, I summon these, but they're not angels. And he goes like, yes, you cast this and all of these wondrous philosophers come out in like ghostly forms, and he like improvs each of the philosophers and how they like attack her enemies and help her. And like he's doing like impressions of Gandhi and like all these different people like throughout time, and it was just like on the spot without skipping a beat. It's like amazing.
That's a skill to have, to be able to improv. It's kind of like people who are really witty and like quick to respond, you know, to humor and things like that. It's such a cool skill. Like I wish I had that skill. Obviously I do not, but yeah, I love that. That would be really cool and hard, I would think. But I guess once you do it enough, maybe kind of you can learn ways of picking up on things quickly, and I don't know.
Yeah. And also like another thing that really helps, he does like amazing impressions. So he has like all these characters that like he role plays basically anybody who is not one of the players, right? Yeah. So like if they meet somebody in the world, if they do different things, like there's all sorts of different people that they meet, you know, like basically everybody that's not main cast he plays. So like there are times where he's talking to himself in like different dialects and stuff. Like he'll be doing different accents, like having conversations with himself that like the players are overhearing and stuff. Yeah. And like it's just, I'm like, wow, that really takes an amazing talent to be able to do something like that. Like he does this, one of the characters is the father of one of the players, and he's like a pirate. and it's just funny because he worked in a pirate into this like 1980s setting, like sort of 1980s setting. It's technically, and it's like in a different universe that's not our universe, so time is irrelevant, but sort of like in the themed like 1980s suburbia, there's this like piratey kind of guy,
right?
And he does this like amazing piratey accent. And he's just like one of the most interesting characters. And there was a interesting interaction where one of the players is like a musician, and so she has like this guitar she carries around, and she has this ability to do like performances. And so she like did a sea shanty performance to like impress this pirate. Yeah. And she ended up rolling a nat 20, which is basically like, so you decide how well you do a thing by rolling dice. It's like part of the game. And that's like the best roll. So something really amazing is supposed to happen. And just like out of like, again, like just off the cuff, he's like a bunch of like pirates swing in through the windows and like they all start beating the drums and stuff. They all have instruments.
Oh my gosh.
He's like, he had these guys like hiding in barrels and stuff. You see one of them start to cry because he's finally out of being stuck in one of those barrels. And he like snaps into the pirate's accent. And he's like, yes, I keep these guys around just in case something like this happens. It was just so funny and like out of nowhere. It's awesome.
Wow.
I've like laughed so harder than I've laughed in a long time watching this series.
And this is on really YouTube?
Good. So I actually ended up, they have a paid service. There's a way to watch it on YouTube. They have all the episodes, but they're like censored and stuff. So I ended up actually like paying for the like series essentially. Okay. They have like a subscription service thing. It's all complicated, but I ended up just being like, you know what? You've earned your $4 for this.
Yeah, I mean, if they're making you laugh that hard.
And it's a lot of content because there's like, I don't know, like 20 episodes and they're all like 2 hours. It's pretty good.
Oh, wow. So it's like a show basically. Like if you were to go to, like an improv show or something. And
there's a lot of it. Like he like as the Dungeon Master does, I think there's like 3 seasons that he's done, and then there is they do several other similar like role play shows. So cool. Be interested to check those out next.
Yeah. Well, that's nice that you found that.
There's a lot of them. Like that's actually a big uptick recently of people doing those types of shows. Yeah. So I suggest going out there, see what's out there.
So you're saying like people have branched beyond the Dungeons and Dragons theme, or it's because this sounds like it's not really Dungeons and Dragons anymore. It's like they're just whole different. It's just like improv.
Yeah, that's one of the best things about it is because it's so open. Like that's the whole basis of it is to be like whatever the players want it to be. Okay. So it's really open, and they create a base level that all of what I was talking about was on the foundation of Dungeons and Dragons. But tons of people have written guides and stuff to change the experience. Like I think one of the other shows that they have is like a mixture between like Candyland and Game of Thrones, like is the idea for like their universe. Okay. And I've seen ones where people are in the future, like it's like a cyberpunky future, and it's all still based on the original game, and it's like has the same spells and stuff, but they just call them something else. Like instead of having a bow, you have a gun. Like you just switch them around. Okay. So basically, it's the same game, but it's just like themed.
I see. Differently. So it's kind of like mods to a game.
Yeah, kind of. It's like, oh, let's just decide to be like in this like 1980s thing instead of like in Lord of the Rings.
Okay. All right. That sounds cool. Yeah. I feel like they could really teach Disney actors a thing or two because, I mean, the last time I went to a Disney thing, and I used to think that they were scripted because I'm like, they're just acting out whatever. But then the last one that I went to was very much improv. Like, they were kind of just going off of each other, but it was so awkward and lame because there was too many, I don't know, like silent pauses that weren't supposed to be there and like awkward reaction. Like they weren't jiving with each other, I guess. And I guess sometimes that probably happens. And if it's a live event, it's probably harder, but I don't know. I just think it is a skill that not everybody has, but I could see how it would be if it's really well done. It could be like really funny. Yeah. Yeah,
it's so hard. That's why it's like so awesome to watch somebody who's really proficient in it. Like it's a lot of I think the whole cast is from College Humor, if you've ever seen that.
I've heard of that, yeah.
Yeah. So they obviously have a lot of experience doing like sketch comedy and stuff.
Good.
Yeah. So I guess Disney's more likely to just hire like a thespian out of high school that's like, yeah, I do improv at SAC Comedy Lab or whatever.
Right. It's probably better than Saturday Night Live because they've really gone downhill, I feel like.
Yeah, I can't watch Saturday Night Live. I feel like it's like they're every now and then they nail it and they make like a gold like script or a sketch that's like, this is good one. But almost every other time, like I would say like 90% of their content is like tough to watch.
It is really hard. It's like, oh, okay, I gotta change the channel.
It's still, I mean, like, I'm still impressed that somebody's willing to go on live television and without a script, like, just, like, riff off of people. Like, that's amazingly, like, I'm not saying they're bad, like, actors or anything. Like, it must be so difficult, but, it's just one of those things that it's like.
It's past its prime. We'll just say that.
Yeah, I suppose. When you have these internet things that, like, people just, have the chemistry.
Yes.
Go for it.
Right. Yeah. That's a big part of it.
And it's like your type of humor. You can find exactly your brand.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
True.
Can't compete.
That's cool. How did you even find that? Was it just, did you just stumble upon it, or did you?
Yeah. I've watched shows like that in the past, and so I think YouTube just kind of like clued in, and so they kept giving me those they're getting me with those little YouTube shorts, you know. Yeah. They're like the stories and Instagram or whatever.
Yeah.
And they do a lot of those. They do clips of the show and just like funny moments from the campaigns and stuff. And so I would see like those goofy interactions and like how quickly they adjusted to each other, and like it's so fun sometimes, like some of the absurd situations, because like you think like Dungeons and Dragons, you think like sweaty nerds in a basement. Yeah. But honestly, like it's mostly humorous, like because people are just having a good time, they're with their friends, they're goofing around, and somebody will just try something absurd, like you know, you're at a party and like obviously it's just a game and it's like for role play, so you're like, start the curtains on fire, and then what? Why are you gonna do that? It's like, so you'll just get into like these absurd situations that are so hilarious. It's like constant situational comedy in between like battles and stuff.
Well, I was actually, this is awkward to say, but I was actually in drama in high school and in college.
That was awkward to say. Oh my gosh.
I took a chance at like becoming an actress at some point in my life. Anyways, so yeah, when I was in college, I was in a lot of, you know, acting classes and stuff. And so we did do improv. There was an improv thing that class. And I will say that it is like borderlines between being really fun and really not fun. It can either be one or the other. It's not, there's
it's
no
like avocados. Your guacamole is either delicious or the worst thing you've ever tasted.
Yes, yeah. And when it's fun, it's so difficult because, as I'm sure you can tell when you ever watch any kind of like show like Saturday Night Live or it's like it's really hard not to laugh when it's good. So like when it is good, it's good, but it's also really hard because it's like you still have to like maintain a certain level. Deadpan. Yeah. So you can smile and stuff, but it's like you don't want to go beyond and totally ruin it. And as you know, like I laugh at everything. So that was a really difficult class for me.
Yeah. I mean, those kind of performances can be like amazing. Yeah. But I do like that, like in these shows, for example, like it's very freeform. So they're cracking each other up all the time. And I almost think that makes it funnier because like somebody's trying to like still like play their part or like do their character in between like losing it and like crying, laughing.
Yeah, I'm sure it's hard. But then you have to like pick yourself back up and keep going somehow. Yeah.
But then the other bad thing about improv is like if you ever see people like get at a sync to the point where they go and they're like cutting each other off and, and then it's like so hard to get back in sync.
That's true. So yeah.
That's the other way.
I'm sure that is hard. But props to them, and I'm glad you're enjoying it. It's a good rec for anybody who wants to search and look into that.
That's YouTube Recs for you.
That's basically our entire show here is just YouTube Recs because that's all we've been talking about, and it's like
excellent.
Already an hour.
That's all we need.
We're already an hour in.
Well, thanks for listening to the YouTube Recommendation Podcast. If you have any YouTube recommendations, send them to us privately so we can publicly say them on the show.
Right.
And steal your content.
Yeah, guys, if you do want to send anything, it can be YouTube Recs or questions, comments, leave a review or email me at nokiddingpodcast@gmail.com or DM me at nokiddingpodcast on Instagram or Twitter. And yeah, I mean, that's it. Goodbye.
I love you, that's why I say cheerio, not goodbye. Remember our old tune, be back soon.
I'm only going to say bye after the 10-second pause.
Oh, okay. I'll let you take this. Bye. Hi, and welcome to the No Kidding Podcast.
Oh, we're blasting back in.
Just kidding.
I love you. Bye-bye.